During this particular evening, Africa was able to obtain a good night's sleep and feel refreshed. The city of Ouagadougou was being observed with great attention by both the heavens and the earth at the same time. The revolutionary movement had been able to weather yet another storm without encountering any difficulties, and it had done so without having to retreat. Deep within the presidential palace, on the other hand, danger was sneering with a sneer on its face. Furthermore, the woman who kept silent behind the scenes was able to notice something that no one else had the confidence to pay attention to, even though she was able to observe it. She made a discovery that no one else had seen that had been overlooked. In accordance with the historical record, this is the story of the sleeping lion, his wife, and how she found a spy who was hiding in plain sight with her husband. The story goes, to begin, she had absolutely no intention of ever being in the notice of the public by any stretch of the imagination. It was in the shade of Burkina Faso's most powerful man that Fatoumata Traore, the president's wife, went about her everyday activities. She did so in the shadow of the president. She was able to achieve this goal despite working in close proximity to the President of the United States. Under no circumstances should you allow yourself to lose your composure. Under no circumstances should you allow yourself to lose your composure. She took care of her flowers and read old poetry by the window, while the rest of the world was discussing topics such as the overthrow of governments and speeches, as well as the arsenal of weapons and the wealth of the people. The security personnel had the impression that she was a person who was considerate and sympathetic, not visible to the ministers who are in charge of the situation at the moment. It was a large chunk of the time that her spouse believed her to be his home. On the other hand, even when she was in a state of tranquility, her eyes did not close or pay no attention to anything that was going on in the world around her. The palace was pleased to welcome a new maid at the beginning of the day, and she started working there the next day. It appeared as though she was a new employee. The name Clara was the one that was most commonly used to refer to her. A very slim figure. In terms of appearance, it is luxurious and refined. One that is of the best possible quality in terms of the position. Her manner of speech was soft, and she smiled rather frequently throughout the course of the chat. The fact that she was quite proficient in the French language was of the utmost importance. It seemed as though her history was flawless in every way, according to the publication's point of view. Due to the efforts that she put forth, she was successful in overcoming the screening. It was quite evident that the instances she provided were among the more favorable ones. At the moment that Fatoumata laid eyes on her for the very first time, she received the impression that there was something peculiar about her existence. Suddenly, she started to experience feelings of apprehension regarding her. Clara possesses a manner that is characterized by its precision. She never ever made a mistake when it came to making judgments she was responsible for. There were no inquiries or expressions of concern over anything that was brought up. Even when she had no reason to be there, she was expected to maintain a continual presence in close proximity to the rooms that the president occupied. In her opinion, this was a significant responsibility. The fact that Clara was spending an exceptionally lengthy period of time gazing at pictures of her family members was something that Fatoumata was the one who discovered. This is not something that I am doing out of admiration. Rather, it is something that I am doing via smart judgment. At one occasion, she saw Clara delicately raising a toy for a child and then slipping something within the seam of the object. She was a witness to this. Throughout the entirety of this incident, she was present. Even though there was a minute amount of silver present, it was not noticeable enough to indicate that it was present. This prevented the identification of the silver. She could not rely on anyone at all. There was not a single person she could. All of the information that she supplied was relayed to the person in charge of security. She is now in the process of moving in at this very moment. He responded by shrugging his shoulders and said, "Give her some time." This was his response. A cautionary message was conveyed to her spouse regarding the particular circumstance. When he approached her, he did so with a warm smile on his face and remarked, "My lioness, you have always had a sharp sense." He did have a nice smile on his face. The inspection of her was carried out after taking all of this into consideration. It is completely impossible for anyone to discover anything at that particular spot. On the other hand, Fatoumata was not kept in the dark about the situation. The war and the exile had heightened her senses, and they whispered to her, "This woman is not what she seems to be." Her instincts had been heightened by the battle. This was due to the fact that her instincts had been honed via experiencing exile and warfare. Taking this into consideration, she was successful in achieving something that no one had predicted she would be successful in having accomplished. There was an attempt to set a trap for her, but she did not speak up while it was being set up to catch her. In the first part of her plan, she attempted to deceive other individuals by using deception and deception. She took Clara by surprise when she informed her that her husband's travel plans had been changed, and she was taken aback and caught off guard by the communication by the time she received the news. As she was working on the flowers, she made the following statement: "He will be in the eastern corridor this Friday." She said this as she was maintaining the roses. At that very moment, Clara's face burst out into a broad grin. "I will make certain that the staff is prepared." That particular Friday afternoon, on the other hand, there was not a single excursion of any kind that was scheduled to take place. Instead, security was able to pick up a signal originating from a shortwave transmitter that was concealed in the laundry area. As a consequence of this, they were able to ascertain the direction from where the signal originated. In spite of the fact that the message was encrypted, the following passages were found to be contained inside it. There was a change made to the scope of the activity. "You will find this corridor at the eastern part of the neighborhood. Once again, it is Friday. A guarantee that the bodyguard would be there by the time the sun goes down," the individual said. On the other hand, neither Clara nor anybody else was aware of the relationship between the two when it was brought to their attention. She then proceeded to leave a phony paper on her desk, which contained a list of changes to the security code for the president's workplace. This was done after she had finished what she had just done. This action was taken by her after she had completed reading the sentence that came before it. The performance that she gave included this as the second component of the show. On that specific day, Clara was the only person who had entered the room by herself. Every other person had been present. When night fell, one of those codes had already been broken into in an attempt to get access to the internal network. This had occurred before the night had even fallen. In the hours before the sun went down, this happened. It is possible to log in from a considerable distance. As a consequence of the firewall being operational, access is being restricted accordingly. As time went on, the people was rapidly surrounded by walls as the situation continued to worsen. On the other hand, when it comes to Fatimata, it is necessary to have evidence that cannot be questioned any further. It was because of this that she put everything that she owned in jeopardy. The jewelry box that Fatimata was holding was one of the objects that she was holding. It was an ordinary and old-fashioned piece of jewelry. On the occasion of her visit, her grandmother presented her with this item as a gift. Not only was there a covert camera concealed within the lock itself, but there was also a tracking device that was present inside the lock itself. She placed it in the nursery next to her son's cot, setting it open just enough for the child to be intrigued about it and for it to attract the child's attention. She did this while keeping it open just enough. This was done with the intention of capturing the attention of the child. She remained seated awaiting the finish of that statement. At approximately 2:36 in the morning, Clara arrived at the spot for the very first time by herself. The motion of her sight was similar to that of a circling motion to her. It appears that she has seized custody of the box that she was recently carrying. It was at that moment that he started to insert a black chip beneath the lining of the stomach, and he did so with the precision of a surgeon. It has been discovered that there is a bug in the room that the child is currently situated in. Fatimata convened a meeting of the organization's Security Council just as the first rays of sunlight began to penetrate the darkness within the organization. It was she who displayed the footage. She was the one who was responsible for doing it. An audible sound cannot be heard at this time. The next feeling that went through my body was anger. Clara was sent to a correctional facility after being taken into custody by law authorities late yesterday afternoon. Consistently the same. To put on a sarcastic expression, she did not put up any attempt to defend it in any way, shape, or form. The authorities got their hands on a poison capsule, encrypted files, and burner phones while they were searching her accommodations. In addition, they found a phone that was used for burning food. In addition to it, a capsule that contained poison was found. On the other side, what is the most horrific information that has been made known to the entire public? The areas of the map that are circled in red and belong to President Traore's child and are utilized for play are depicted in this depiction of the map. There is no way that Clara could be compared to a maid in any manner, shape, or form. It was under her prior identity, Emily Dupont, that she was recognized in the world at large. The individual in question was a member of a French intelligence organization that has since been dismantled. This organization was in existence in the past. A business consultant is the occupation that this individual is currently pursuing at the moment. Following further investigation, it was discovered that she had entered the palace at the direction of a European financier who declined to divulge his name. Following the completion of the investigation, this information was gathered that was obtained. Her job obligations included not just the responsibility of monitoring, but also the responsibility of preparing. She was accountable for both of these responsibilities. Following the completion of the essential preparations, the process of getting ready for a kidnapping to take place. On top of that, it is even more that. When Fatimata made her very first appearance in front of the cameras, it was because her husband had been nominated to a post in the federal government. This was the reason for her appearance. It was not in the capacity of a wife that she talked. Rather, she spoke in the capacity of a mother and a guardian on the matter at hand. In no way did she ever act or speak in the manner of a wife. They believed that I was weak because I mumbled, which led them to believe that I was weak. As a result, they had the impression that I was weak. They were under the impression that I was unable to see because I grinned, which caused them to believe that I was absent-minded. On the other hand, if you do not cultivate the ability to listen, you will not be able to handle extended periods of stillness. This is the opposite side of the coin. In order to protect a lion, it is not possible to roar as loudly as possible, which would be an insult to the pain that the lion is currently experiencing. Following the dissemination of the news, the continent began exhibiting signs of shaking. Other people were motivated to inquire about everything and everything because almost every aspect of the circumstance drove them to do so. Is there anything about this that led to France experiencing any kind of disruption? Are you of the opinion that it is a player that operates independently in their business? At the time when this event took place, is it possible that it was a warning or an act of war between two different parties? As a result of this, Traoré refrained from engaging in any conjecture about the situation. He then proceeded to take a straightforward measure, which was to terminate the employment of all foreign workers who were engaged in government institutions. This was the subsequent step that he took. Immediately after that, a thorough security check was carried out in advance of the event, and it was carried out. There has never been a moment when Clara, who is also known by the name Emily, has been brought before a judge. In the past, the case was never presented before a judge for consideration. It was during the time when she was on her way to a secure detention institution of some kind that she disappeared without a trace. It has been brought to the attention of certain folks that she has been removed from the photo. Among the numerous people who hold the belief that she never left Burkina Faso, this school of thought is one of the predominant schools of thought. As time went on, other people began to refer to her as the mother of the revolution. During the weeks that followed, this became a common occurrence. This was the moniker that was used to refer to her rather regularly. It was the very first time that Fatimata began to take on an active advisory role in relation to the manner in which the palace's security operations were being carried out. The formation of an intelligence sector that is managed by women and is staffed by persons who have been trained to see rather than yell indicates that this sector has been established. This industry is staffed by people who have received training to see via their eyes. In terms of this particular facet of intelligence, women are the ones who carry the responsibility. The fact that she was the president's wife was no longer sufficient to describe her. She had developed into something that was more than that. Every time he was in the dark, his eyes took on the appearance of hers. While attending a private dinner with military leaders, Traoré made the following statement while raising a glass to the occasion. "I am honored to be here today. Because of my hostility to empires, I was given the nickname Lion, which was bestowed upon me as a result of my efforts. This epithet occurred as a result of my activities. In spite of this, a lioness came to our aid when we were all inside my own house. She did not make use of her teeth, but rather she utilized her intelligence. Our lives were spared by her intervention. By providing us with sound counsel, she was able to rescue us from potential danger. After that aspect of the situation was resolved, Fatimata returned to her garden in order to continue working on her assignment. Following the conclusion of a brief holiday, the palace resumed its regular operations as they had been established. On the other hand, she is not a shadow at this particular moment. Rather, she is a sentinel who patrols the halls throughout the entire edifice. Her duties are being carried out in the appropriate manner. Even right up till the very end, she keeps her smile forever, carries on with a tone of speaking that is both friendly and gracious. At this point in time, it is general known that the most dangerous individuals are those who are unable to communicate their concerns through the use of words. She does so in a gentle and sympathetic manner whenever she touches the forehead of her kid. As a result of the moonlight that lights the nursery building, it takes on a lustrous appearance that is slightly metallic in appearance. One of the women quietly whispers the following: "There is a significant possibility that they will come back at some point in the future. As a different way of stating things for you, that is another way. Whatever the case may be, we are not going to wait till the next time an opportunity presents itself before acting." At this very moment, the lion is not even close to being willing to take a nap. He is focusing his attention on this particular aspect.